Wow. Welcome, my friends, once again to another episode of the Jammin' Dude Show. Home of the world champions, baby. So, here I am once again. And, so many things going on this time. First of all, I want to introduce my new wintertime co-host. I was trying to come up with a name for this one, and I had a friend who spent some time in Russia, and he came up with the perfect name. He even helped me to sound it out phonetically. I dubbed this drink, I think I've invented a new drink. I dubbed this drink Snegurechka. I think I've got that right. If anyone out there speaks Russian, please help me with my pronunciation. But he said it is pronounced Snegurechka, the Snow Maiden. And the way you do it is this. You take an oversized mug, obviously. You have the same base ingredients as a White Russian. That is, you have 2 ounces of Kahlua and 3 ounces of vodka. In this case, you have 3 ounces of batch 206 mint vodka. Then you mix with white chocolate cocoa. Snegurechka. Oh, so wonderful. I hope I'm not butchering that name too much. Lots of stuff going on around here. First of all, as some of you may have seen, I did manage to get to the Transatlantic show last week. And I even got a little bit of an interview with Ted Leonard. Sorry about the brightness quality there. It was very dark outside, and I didn't have the opportunity to pull him somewhere where it was lighter. But he was a really good sport about it, and I want to sincerely thank Ted Leonard for giving me a few minutes of his time. And, Mike, you're next. The Jammin' Dude wants you for the Jammin' Dude show. So, next time you're in town, don't forget. Next time. But I got some cool stuff at the Transatlantic show. Just gave my first spin to Kaleidoscope. Here's the special edition. I did manage to get a spin on the CD. You know, I have to say that when I first heard the video of Shine, which I will also post a link to, I was a little bit on it. But man, I've warmed up to it. Now Shine is just it's just an amazing song. And I find myself singing along with it, and I've got it stuck in my head. And the epics are still sinking in, so I'm going to be getting around to a review of that. But right now, I'm just going to be sticking to the show, because the show was astounding. And it was one of the first times that I had ever had an opportunity to hear all new music, or mostly new music, live for the first time. Most of the time when I go to a show, I have already familiarized myself with the material. In this instance, I had not had an opportunity to listen to the album previously. I had just been working a long week. The show was on a Sunday, and the album had just come out the previous Tuesday. I had been working all week, and it was Super Bowl week, getting ready for the Seahawks and their big blowout. And I just hadn't had the opportunity to pick up the album. I finally did pick it up at the show. I've been listening to it ever since, and wow, what an amazing album. I also picked up the live DVD from the 2010 World Tour, and I just saw this tonight, and had a lot of fun watching it. So it's been a big transatlantic week, as you can tell. So I had a lot of fun at the show. The new material was fantastic. They went on a little bit late. I guess there was some kind of confusion. They ended up doing the remainder of the show with no intermission. And it's my understanding now that they've been doing that at a couple of other dates too. So skipping the intermission and just doing the whole thing in one go, and then coming out after having a bit of a break before the encore. They played most of the new album. It was nice to hear obviously they couldn't do all of the whirlwind, so getting it cut down to about half of its normal length and into a medley of some of the best highlights, I thought was a nice way to have that represented. And, of course, the encore was probably the highlight because it begins with all of the above, and then right at the soft point, you end up going into the second half of Stranger in Your Soul, which, of course, is the ending to end all endings in a transatlantic epic. You cannot have a show not end on that Stranger in Your Soul epic ending. So I really thought that the show was amazing. Again, I was there with my buddy Chris Hinton from the Mike Portnoy Tour. Again, I was there with my friend Chris Hinton from the Mike Portnoy Forum. We managed to get pretty decent seats. I want to give a special thank you to the incredible young lady who helped us get up a little bit closer. I don't know who she was. She was sitting in the front row with her significant other, very lucky man, and they managed to get us. Chris Hinton was there with his son, good kid. He's in high school and had to go to school the next day, so was really kind of crunching it. And all this was going on around the Super Bowl, too, so much attention was paid to that during the show, too. Mike Portnoy was very nice to give a big tip of the cap and a great big emblem up on the screen to really congratulate the Seattle Seahawks on their dominating Super Bowl win. And so much was made of that, and we had a lot of fun. I even got a chance to, when I arrived at the venue, which is a converted theater at a mall in a town called Everett, which is just a few miles north of Seattle. So when I arrived at the mall, it began with me going to the food court to watch the Super Bowl on the big screen. I wanted to be near the venue because I actually live probably a little over an hour away from where the venue was. And I didn't want to have to drive up there after the Super Bowl was over, so I figured I'd go up and watch the Super Bowl while I was up there. And while I was watching the Super Bowl in the food court, who should arrive looking for some grub but Pete Trewavas? And I was not ready for an interview, otherwise I might have hooked him into a Jammin' Dude episode, but I was not really prepared. I wasn't in my garb, I didn't have my questions, but I sat there and I just talked with him for a few minutes, and wow, what a really nice guy. And he didn't really understand American football, but we got to talking about real football, which he was really nice about. And we got to talking about European football and who he was into and how it was really cool and how the U.S. actually had a good team. And then he said, he didn't know much about American football, but he talked about how exciting it was to be in a town where this was happening on that day. And so he was just kind of getting in on the excitement, and he's just a really nice guy, and I can't thank him enough for taking a few minutes to talk with me as well. So the show was incredible, and I got to be in the fourth row. I gave up some second row seats. I found, like I said, there was this lady who found us some seats and said, "Oh, we got a couple of extras up here." And Chris and his son got to sit in the second row, and I was sitting in the fourth row way off to the side. And what was nice was just the atmosphere, was just to be able to look out in the audience and see this positive atmosphere as it took over the entire crowd. One of the great things about a transatlantic show is the uplifting spirit of the entire mood of everything that they do. It's always so feel-good, and you can overdose on that to a certain extent, but there is really nothing like it when you are in a theater full of people listening to this positive, uplifting music and the way that everybody is feeling at that moment. And it's really easy to see how Neil Morse can get so emotional during these shows. And he does. He really gets into it. And I have to say, too, that Mike Portnoy, I've never seen him have so much fun. And I have seen just about every tour that Dream Theater ever did with him. And I can say honestly that in the dozen or so times that I have seen Mike Portnoy live, I have not seen him have this much fun during a show since I saw the Score show at Radio City Music Hall in 2006. He was just having a blast. He was all over the place, and it was almost like when Chico from the Marx Brothers plays piano. And, you know, he knows his instrument so well that he just starts playing and having fun with it. And he's doing all these gestures like it's nothing to him. And it's just, he's so into the groove and into the moment that he can do anything he wants and still be able to play like a madman. So, Mike Portnoy was absolutely on top of his game. And we were all really impressed when we found out that Pete, who was just dead on all night long, near the end of the show and during the encore, Mike had kind of pointed out that they had been having problems with their ear monitors all night long, and Pete finally just had to take his ear monitor out. So he had been playing almost the entire night with no monitor. So Pete just went way up my list of top bassists. The guy is just amazing to have been able to play nearly an entire show with things as difficult as what Transatlantic plays and not even be able to have your monitor working properly. So Pete was way on top of his game. Royne, and if I'm butchering his name, I'm sorry. He was having some ear monitor problems too, and also they couldn't get his mic up loud enough. We couldn't hear him all night long, and all night long he kept pointing to the guy, "Turn my mic up." So I don't know what the mic guy had against him, but the atmosphere was really positive. They played most of Kaleidoscope. They played a truncated version of the Whirlwind. They brought back My New World, which hadn't been played, I don't think, since the first tour. So that was really incredible to be able to hear that song again, to hear that one resurrected. And what really just an amazing 2.5, 3 hour show. Transatlantic, every time I think that I've seen this concert that is just going to, this is going to slay all the rest of the concerts that I've been to, something comes along and just gives me a positive vibe, and maybe I'm just too in the moment. But I really had a great time at the Transatlantic show, had a great time with Chris and his son, and just an amazingly positive show. And if you get a chance to go out and see it on the rest of the tour, please go see them, because it is stellar, and you will see musicmanship at its top form. I got more reviews coming up. I still have to give you a review of Haken, which has just been blowing my doors off. It kind of got usurped this last week because I had so much going on with the Seahawks going to the Super Bowl and winning, and the Transatlantic show kind of got everything in the mix. And of course, you know, I work full time. What do you want me to do? And today, my dishwasher caught on fire. Yes, my dishwasher caught on fire. So I actually had to go out and buy a new dishwasher today, and it's just been craziness. But, you know, I'm just having a great time seeing your feedback, talking to local people at shows, and hearing from everybody who just loves music. You guys are all fantastic, and I really appreciate all the PMs, all the shared music that I've been receiving. There's more Odd Logic reviews coming up, more Haken reviews coming up, and probably a more in-depth review of the Kaleidoscope album as well. So be looking for these things in the near future. Look, I'm not going to edit this one. It's going out with all the raw mistakes just because, you know, in some ways I just like it better that way. So maybe I'll get back to editing at some point, but right now I'm just having too much fun just putting it out there, unedited and unscripted, and hearing what you guys have to say. So thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. We're going to see you next time on the Jammin' Dude Show. Don't worry, Denver. Maybe next season.